Alright guys, I'm back on it today. So, to me this is not necessarily a design flaw, but I don't know how it's overlooked. So, you guys know what this panel does. You know, you've got your cowl panel that goes over top of that, has a little frame deal in, you know, little whatever that allows water and stuff to go in and drain out and all that kind of stuff. So you get a lot of water in this area here, which is fine. It drains down. It's supposed to do what it does unless stuff gets clogged up. But for me, on this one, and I never knew how this design worked until I watched Joe Daddy's Garage one day, and he was talking about when you cut your firewall panel off, don't cut this through this, because this is one piece. It goes underneath here to make out this piece here. Well, the problem for me is I'm looking at this, and you can see I've kind of pulled this away a little bit, and you can see the rust down inside there. So now I've, just like what was on the outside here, there's rust down there. And I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think the seam sealer failed. I think what happened, if I can get this to show inside here, if you look down in there, there's no seam sealer in there. So right down in here, the water's going to come and it runs down this channel and sits there, or it runs off into the deal. But if any moisture that's sitting in there, what does it do? It collects and it goes right up under here. So although you sealed this from the outside, you didn't seal it from the inside. So to make this a good seal, they should have seam sealed that up inside there. All they had to do is take a glob of that shit and run their finger across that, you know, because I can get my hand down in there. So you could seal that from the inside, but it doesn't look like the factory took the time to do that, which they took the time to do out here. So to me, it seems like kind of a, like I said, not necessarily a design flaw, but just an overlooked area that should have been addressed to keep, you know, the moisture from seeping up into these seams. And that's kind of what we've been having lots of discussions on my channel about, is how to protect the insides of these seams, especially when you're going to weld. And, you know, we use weld through primer, and we talked about what the best way to seal this would be. And I talked about, you know, after welding this, maybe take some epoxy and let it run down inside there, and then seam seal this. But then you would also want to seam seal the backside. I think your seam sealer is going to be your best protection above anything, because if the water can't get inside those to form, you know, rust, moisture, and all that, then you're good to go. But so for me, all that to say this, I'm not, you know me, I can't jive with, oh shit, we don't drop that on my foot. That would suck real bad. Get that up there, especially in flip-flops. Yeah, I know I shouldn't be wearing flip-flops in the shop. So anyway, kind of pulled these away, but I guess I'm going to go ahead and just drill these spot welds out and peel this back and sandblast down in there with spot blaster or whatever I can do to get that cleaned out. I could let some, I could run some, I can't even remember the name of that stuff. But basically like Osfo or something down in there, but I just don't want acid running all down inside there, especially for paint. You know, if I miss any of it trying to get it off, I'm just afraid it's going to let loose. So I just soon keep the acid stuff away from the car. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because it does work. Just for me, my personal preference, I just, you know, if I miss a spot, which I'm not perfect, so I can promise you I'm going to miss a spot. I don't want a bunch of shit coming off on me. But anyway, so yeah, I guess I'm going to take a little bit extra time and pull this back, fold it back, and try to clean in there as much as possible, then dolly it back up, weld it back together. So we'll see what happens. Alright, so I started pulling these apart, pulling this back, and it looks like a lot of just surface rust in there, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this rest way off and peel this back a little bit and clean that up. My parts came in. There's the other rocker
There's my floor pan. I did have a couple issues, which I'm not going to bitch about, or maybe I am going to bitch about it, I don't know. But regardless, you can see right there, that's bent down, no big deal. I can bend that back up, dolly, hammer dolly, no big deal. He had me take it out of the box before I let him go. I told him, I said, nah, this is no big deal. Both ends, they obviously get dropped, but, pushed off a truck or whatever, but that's literally not an issue. Straighten that back out in 5 minutes or so. And here's this piece, and it's got a couple of little, I don't know, scratches and dents on it, but it's a floorboard, so again, I'm not going to piss and moan about that. I don't care. That looks like a pretty good part. That's kind of nice. Looks like it's a little bit funky through there, but once it gets all pushed back up against the deal, it'll be fine. This looks really flimsy, which is kind of. What I'd planned on doing is maybe filling this in, because I'm not going to put the heater back in it. I'd probably go with Vintage Air, and so I wasn't going to have this. Well, Dynacorn makes one, but I was going to have to order it from somewhere else and pay the shipping. And I thought, I'll just fix this. Matter of fact, may just fix it while I have it off of the car. But this metal is so flimsy that I don't know. We'll have to see. But I kept the pattern. I actually made a pattern off of DSE's deal. And see, I went ahead and traced that delete plate out on a piece of cardboard. So I literally could take that, transfer that to sheet metal, and have a delete plate to put on that if I wanted to do that. But we'll see what happens when that time comes. These are the frame rails that came in, and best I can tell, they're really heavy. Really thick, heavy-duty steel. And again, everything you get, I don't care who makes it, it's coming from Taiwan. But they'll seem like pretty good ones. So, and they're not bent or dented or anything like that, so that's a good thing. You know how my other ones were all creased and jacked. So those look real nice. Those are actually the best pieces that I've got at this point, I think, as far as damage goes. But yeah, that's it. So I think also, tell me what you guys think about this. I think that while I have this out like this, I'm going to scuff this down 180, and I'm going to go ahead and epoxy this whole floor up the bottom and top with probably two or three good coats of epoxy. Before I go putting it in the car. I'll just hang it up there on my deal and just spread the front and back of it. That way I don't have to do it once it's in the car, because literally these edges here, only thing I'm going to be welding to, these edges here, and I can just cut that back and to either do weld through or whatever I decide to do at the time. But yeah, the rest of this in the middle will all be done. It'd be nice. And I don't have to sit in the car to try to scuff all this. I can just sit down on the floor, or sit it on a table, my table over there maybe, and just, scuff it with red Scotch-Brite, or like I said, 180 or whatever. So, be easier doing it, I think, out of the car. And I could just leave it in this EDP, I guess, but ultimately I would like a little more protection underneath. I don't think the top is that important, but underneath, where all the shit's going to, salt and everything else is going to get up underneath there. Not that I'm going to be driving this in snow, but whatever. You know what I mean. All right, so there's that. I don't know why I felt the need to do this, but I did, so I did it. Let's piece it together, kind of see, make sure everything was going to fit, you know, out of the car, and then thinking maybe I can find any issues now that before I get it up there in the air and hanging by, you know, one hand trying to, you know, put stuff together. Very cool. New floor. Sure not much separating you from the ground, especially at 120, 30 miles an hour, depending on if you're running down the drag strip. It's just some thin sheet metal, what, 18 gauge-ish, something like that. Let's check it and see. If I can find my little gauge. It's buried under all the bullshit. There it is. Let's see what they're making the floor pans out of. My guess is probably 18-ish. Alright, 19. Alright, 20. Yep, 20 gauge. 20 gauge. I don't know what the original was. I guess I could check it. These here are looks like 12 gauge. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not focusing because it never does, but it's 12 gauge. So we'll see what these floor pans originally were. Let's start out with 20 and see if it fits. Yep, 20 gauge. That's what they were. So, same. That's what the rockers are. Rockers look like they're 17 or 18, probably 18. Yep, about 18 gauge. Well, that's what you're getting. Now this stuff here is pretty flimsy. I bet this is 20 gauge like the rest of it. Yeah, it looks like it is. Not really 19, it's going to be 20, it's just tight. So yeah, 20 gauge. There you go. Alright guys, that's going to be it for now. A lot of work to do, a lot of cleaning. I was still busting spot welds when all this showed up. So anyway, alright, see you.